Wow. Thanks, Mitra. That was, yeah, I feel like I'm just glowing with positive vibes. Thanks. I don't even know how to beat that. You gave my story, like, you sort of gave it all away, yeah. Yeah, nice to be here. Feels like, I've been in the community for a bit over a year. And so, yeah, I'd like to kind of tell you my story. It felt right for me to take this next step to become a Mitra. Hang on. And thought, yeah, I'll kind of just get into it and give you my story about why I'm trying to become this thing, this Mitra thing. Yeah, so like Matranara said, I grew up in Joburg, grew up in Kenya, the Ivory Coast, and Johannesburg. And I'll start there, because that's when I thought I had it all figured out. So I was sort of up until 18, I was in a very had a lot of creative, kind of chaotic energy, was really into music, really into playing in bands, that sort of thing. But also was like doing really well at school, and so I thought I'd like kind of cracked it. I was doing a lot of what you'd call the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, So, but I thought I was like really on top of the world, I could just take all sorts of drugs all at the same time, and then wake up the next day and just smash tests, and I just felt like I was cruising. I was absolutely having a banging time. And I had no conception that there could ever be a problem with that. There could be like mental health. I thought basically when people talked about having mental health issues that they were just kind of inventing it. I was like, oh, they just need to get over themselves. Like, what are they talking about? That's kind of the level of how much I thought, I kind of had things figured out. And so I can kind of see this lifestyle as like charging on a horse. I was basically on this big horse and I was just cantering through life, just absolutely galloping. And that all came to a crash, as Matranara said, and I think this is, I'm mentioning this from the beginning because this is how I kind of got into Buddhism. And at like age 21, had like this, took basically hallucinogenics, and had what I can only describe as like a psychotic like panic attack that lasted 16 hours on this drug, and it completely unseated the rider from that horse. So it just yeah, it was sheer terror. I mean, I can only explain it as like, I can't imagine a worse torture. It was, I was nearly a statistic. Like I wanted to throw myself off a building. Like to be in my mind was so terrifying, and it had all sorts of kind of visions coming along with it. And then those persisted in my daily life. So even after this trip ended, they would just keep coming back, and I thought like I would need to be sectioned. I thought I'd like completely wreck the whole thing. And so boxing was actually, funny enough, one of the first ways I tried to deal with it, and it kind of retrained some of the fear response in a natural way. But eventually I found myself doing CBT with a coach who was really good, who'd been through a very similar thing, not with drugs, but had a kind of agoraphobia and was unable to leave his house. At this point, my panic had changed so that I couldn't get onto trains, I couldn't get onto planes, I couldn't get into cars, I couldn't be in elevators. Just the thought of being alone with my mind and maybe having a panic attack, I developed a fear of fear itself. So that's what panic disorder is. It's basically a fear of feeling fear, which is a very vicious circle when you think about it. Like, because then you get scared and then you feel more fear, which then makes you, even more fearful. So that. It was kind of like this sort of rolling panic attacks and kind of general terror, palm sweating terror that was just following me all along my life, everywhere I would go. And so he introduced me to this technique. He was a CBT guy, but he was also a Buddhist, and he made that clear at the beginning. I'd sort of like been interested in Eastern philosophy, like through martial arts. I kind of thought there was something cool and very sort of solid about those sort of people. And so the fact that he was a Buddhist kind of, he seemed like a bit of a Jedi figure, and I thought I could take like sort of instruction from this guy. And so I'll just tell you, like, the first thing, what he took me through was this system called ACTS, and I think it's relevant to anyone who are Buddhists in this room. And essentially what he would say is like, your fear that you're feeling when you're going to a plane or a train it's not you, it doesn't say anything about you or your issues in your life. What you need to do actually is when you feel a fear response is you need to go towards the fear. As soon as you feel it, you go towards it, and you do the following things. The first one was allow. You just allow what is happening to be there. So you just sit still. Then you label those things like a curious observer. You label the sensations that are happening. You realize the truth that like sensations are harmless. There's no particular issue with this. And then you reframe it as a success, that every time you do this, you're actually retraining your reactivity to, away from this sort of like trauma. And so the whole thing basically just in 6 months, it basically wiped out all of those issues I had with panic disorder. You go on planes, go on trains, solo trips, like no problem. From like literally not being able to go down to the tube, like never mind get into it, like just go down the stairs would have made me in like sheer shaking panic, to like having a blast on trains and really enjoying trips on it. So this was like the sort of best advert I could possibly have for Buddhism, because like it had already taken like a medical issue and had I don't want to say solved it, but like because you still feel it in your life, but it had like reframed the whole thing very, very helpfully, and just this like real training of just letting reactivity be, and just letting it be, like the second and third truths, like reactivity exists and it can also cease, and then like just seeing that more and more as I was encountering these events. And then I started realizing through this guy that this could maybe help with other issues, like other self-destructive patterns I had in my life that were not to do with like a medical reactivity, but like how I am as a person, the effects I was having, like poor relationships, taking alcohol or drugs and things like that were getting in the way of my work or my aspirations, what I chose to do with my work, all these sort of what you would call big life issues. I started thinking, could I be dealing with this in a kind of similar way? And that's what really led me to exploring the rest of what Buddhism had to offer. And so I knew I needed to kind of go on some sort of a path, and I needed space to reflect on these parts of myself in order to make progress with them. And like a kind of almost like a daily sort of CBT in a way. And that's when I turned up at Triratna. So that brings us to the sort of a year ago. So I'd been meditating throughout this kind of treatment and everything over multiple years after getting over panic disorder. But I kind of started to realize that there was a limit to CBT, and that like it's dealing with fixing a problem, but there's so much more that a human can be than just fixing like a painful problem. But so I was then able to go on retreats, and so on those retreats, a lot of things surfaced up, ways I kind of treat people. I could just see more and more clearly on these retreats with this space, all the different parts of myself that were getting in my own way, that were getting in the way of other people, and getting in the way of, it was making me suffer and making others suffer. And that's and there was this one retreat that I did on Metta, where like my frame of mind after that Metta retreat was just such an expansive and like loving person. I remember I was on the tube, and there was a woman in front of me, and she was saying stuff that would have definitely triggered me, like lots of opinions on politics, lots of opinions on things just coming at me, and my brain would have usually had a particular reactive pattern where it would have just gone to try and like nail her on these issues. I just and just go no, like just kind of play the sophistry, and just be like, no, think about it this way, think about it this way. And instead my brain was just naturally trying to find harmony with this woman, and like just shift from what she was saying and sort of like bob and weave it to like a thing that we agreed on, and just like have a great time. And I've never seen my brain do that. It's like my brain has never done that before. And so it just started to get me to thinking, not only is this something that could help with my literal medical problems, it's also then something that can help with my my limitations, my issues. But then more than that, it can actually build a kind of mind or a relationship with the world that's like flow state. It's like Super Saiyan, like mode, where I can be so much more than I thought. And so when I came back from this, it was it changed a lot of things in my life, and I started to take then the sort of the Eightfold Path, or like that I started thinking that like what the Buddha is saying, some of the ways in which he's suggesting I should live my life, and how I should take ethics seriously. This guy's like kind of cracked it 2,500 years ago. And I need to look more into it, and apply myself much more rigorously. And so that's kind of why, the sort of idea of becoming a Mitra and going even deeper sort of really started to come out. And then I'd say that the last thing has been the importance of this Sangha and the importance of Sangha in general, and all of you like wonderful people that I've met on retreat and here around the center. It's like there's this this kind of golden nugget that's there, and just having it, you know, and it just needs to be polished. And like every time I come with some idea, someone in a study group or someone here is helping me see it in a completely different way. You know, I was having like an awful retreat once on a weekend retreat. It just wasn't going well. And one chat with someone in the kind of back row in between two meditations just changed the whole thing for me. And I was like, oh, okay, that would have never happened if I was by myself in my room. And so just that again started clicking the importance of Sangha. And so yeah, I think that's my kind of my conclusion. Is that I think my medical issue that's thankfully dealt with now, but any other medical issues, fear, my existential issues, and then even like how I'm sort of trying to choose to spend my time is going to measurably improve, and I've already seen it in my work. As Mitra mentioned, I've sort of run companies, and my latest company is going through such a round of problems. There was another retreat, and when I knew that something was now changed with my work life, I remember taking my phone out and turning it on after the retreat, and the first message in was someone who was suing our company that I'd known before that this might happen, and I saw this message, and I smiled and put my phone down and was like, completely relaxed. And so I was like, that's not normal, like that. And I was like, okay, so yeah, like I mean, there's a lot of discourse about how stressful entrepreneurship is, and honestly, like through what I've been learning here, it's completely stress-free for me. I find it like a very relaxed thing to do now, and so just like taking myself out of it, taking my own personal gain out of it, and thinking about the impact it can have, has just removed all the leverage on my attention. Like I'm not thinking about what I'm going to lose if it doesn't work or anything. It's like it doesn't matter, you know. So yeah, I think I can see it now bleeding into my work and like transforming my stress there. There's like every time I seem to apply it to a different area, it just goes super well. So that's why I'm becoming a Mitra. I want more of that. It's like a snowball that's going downhill, and I hope it gets big and beautiful, and I hope I can do it with all of you. So yeah, thanks everyone.